What up? Welcome back, or welcome to the channel, Red Cardinal Tarot, where I'm an intuitive psychic and I give channeled messages and readings. I hope everybody's doing okay today or tonight. If you found this video, it's not a coincidence. Although, please use your intuition and discernment, because sometimes the messages they can definitely be out there, and fair warning, sometimes I do cuss and curse, though I don't try to all the time, but sometimes we do. Um, so I think for this reading, Spirit actually kind of just wants me to just maybe, start to go ahead and start sharing some of my actual like personal downloads I get with you guys, and that's maybe helped me along my spiritual journey. Looking back at my notes, I was actually oh, you got the zoomies. Okay, Meow Meow's got the zoomies, guys. But so basically, yeah. So I was looking back at my notes, and I was actually kind of doing a little reading for myself, just earlier today. Just checking in with spirit, seeing what's good, and they kind of hinted at me that I should go back at some of my notes and stuff when I actually very first started my awakening. I guess because potentially they want me to help others awaken, or give them the tools and resources or the knowledge that they might need to know, that I potentially just found very interesting, and it kind of opened my mind up, and to save you a lot of potential time and effort. That's why I'm just going to kind of share some of this information with you. So this one's definitely it's gonna be a little bit out there. So we're just gonna kind of get into it. So for my first note, it talks about that we are a human. Obviously, male or female. But what does it actually mean? What does being a human actually mean? And if we actually broke it down, what would that actually mean? And so basically, a hue, it's the attribute of colors that permits them to be classed as red, yellow, green, blue, or intermediate between any contingent pair of these colors. Okay, that's for hue. And then obviously, well, what is a man? A woman, a man, a guy, a woman. It doesn't matter. A human. So obviously, the first part's being a hue. It's referring to basically we are just a array of different colors. And I thought about it, and I meditated, and I was like, man, that's kind of funny, because isn't the chakra system just nothing but basically like different colors? Like don't we literally go from red at our root, orange to our sacral, yellow to our solar plexus, green to our heart, blue to our upper heart's pink, and then blue to our throat, and then purple to our third eye and our crown. And I was like, wow, that's might be onto something there. And then I was like, well, what is a man? What does that symbolize? What does that represent? And basically, if you was actually wondering, M actually breaks down to the numerology 13. A is number 1. Yeah. And N is number 14. And mathematically, that's 28. And then if you kind of break it down, with parentheses, so then you just let's just say we do 2 plus 8. Obviously, that equals 10. And the number 10 is a symbol of perfection and balance. embodying the ultimate completeness, in a lot of kind of religions, 10 usually is a completion or some kind of ending, like you wrapped it up, you finished something. um, and it can also talk about if you want to talk about more so like in the Bible and stuff like that, if you know Christian oh my goodness, bro. Christianity. I'm not even gonna say it, bro. Just the Bible in a sense. Which that's more of per se talking about, uh, you know, your path, your journey, your soul. Your light. It's not about worshiping the sun. It's literally about becoming the sun, being healed, being integrated. That way we can actually obtain Christ consciousness, just as Jesus did, and actually share and show that love and gratitude outward to the world. And I think again, that's a lot of teachings that people is just miscorrupted or misguided, or they just don't want people to know, because they benefit from the more people they've kept asleep, the more longer these people can benefit from you and take your energy and take your abundance and take your time. And I'm just simply here to just try to again illuminate the way, so uh, future generations, or maybe even current generations, people currently now can kind of wake up to some of these things, for their highest and greatest good. Um, but basically, 10 underscores the fact that we all humans are created in the likeness and perfection of the Most High, meaning we possess both uh, a divine mind and obviously an earthly body or an earthly vessel. What I'm in and what you're in, but we do have a divine mind. And I've had some people ask me, well, how did you, like, where did you even start, as far as, like, I guess applying this information to yourself, to becoming the son, just as the Bible refers to us to do. um, you know Become the son. Don't worship the sun, but become the son, which is again talking about your inner light, your power and your soul, pretty much symbolically. And you know basically I was looking at a lot of different religions during my awakening, and just connecting a lot of dots. And again, going back to what is a human, what is a human, bro? That was my thing. Like, what really are we? What are we as individuals, as a species, as individuals here on earth? And I actually started looking into the Kabbalism, which is the tree of life and the tree of death, because I was like, oh, well, that's a very good way of enlightenment. It looked interesting to me at the time. I was curious, obviously. So obviously don't judge my my drawing here. It was kind of quickly drawn, in a sense, but it shows that we this is basically uh, how the Kabbalism is set up. With number one being at the top, being a consciousness of light, and obviously number 10 being all the way down here at the bottom, basically being your body of matter, which also kind of tied into what I thought was interesting, which again is what is a human. Being a consciousness of light, I was kind of like, wow, that seems kind of more like number one. Being a hue, being a ray of different light, you know. And then I was like, no, Meow Meow, we're not doing this again. No, you can do it all video long. I don't care. We're not gonna put this on pause just because you want to meow meow today. And no, you're good. You're straight. So I apologize if meow meow is just vocal this time around. Yep, very vocal, very vocal. She's just jealous. I'm not giving her my unrequited love and attention that she just always seems to need when it's just, I don't know, random. But I trust me, she definitely gets love. She's quite spoiled, honestly. She confirmed it. There you go. But basically, you know, I was thinking, you know, well, what is a human? And back to the reading, you know, and I was like, wow, you know, consciousness of light, you know, that's talking about light. And then, you know, I kind of thought about Pink Floyd, you know, might have some Pink Floyd people watching this right now, or fans. That might be a synchronicity or something. How you know this might be for you, or might resonate for you, or something might be here for you. But yeah, so I was looking at that, and you know, you got the little triangle spectrum, you know, and then you got the one light, and then you know the rainbow color. And I was like, well, you know, wow, it's kind of like what he's talking about, you know, like as far as, you know, like with that symbolism, meaning, you know, that you know, we are a ray of these different lights. And then I was like, well, you know, with the man part, you know, being that, you know, that you know, we have a divine mind, and obviously an earthly body, being at number 10. And you know, I was kind of like curious, and again, you know, I was like, well, what would the, you know, what do these mean, and what is it? So basically, we're gonna start at the first here, number 1. Basically, is talking about the crown. Number 2 is wisdom. Number 3 is understanding. Number 4 is love. Number 5 is strength. 6 is beauty. 7th is victory. 8th is glory. 9 is foundation. And number 10 is the kingdom. And I was like, wow, that's ironic. Number 10 being the kingdom at the bottom. And I'm kind of like, well, wouldn't 10 be at the top? And then, you know, that's when I kind of started coming across the terminology as above, so below, you know, as within, so without. And I was like, oh, okay, well, that, you know, is that basically meaning that potentially that things down here are actually ass backwards, potentially? And we just haven't been told this, or maybe these teachings have been forgotten, or maybe they've been purposely, you know, hidden from us to keep us asleep, potentially, or to, you know, just to hinder us, or anything like that. And you know, it was pretty interesting because in these notes here, you know, it basically talks about in this, you know, I was thinking, you know, I was thinking about this, you know, and I was just trying to like make all sense of this, you know, and I was like, okay, well, if we're a ray of light with a divine mind in an earthly body, okay, that's just breaking down the terminology of a human, what a human even is, basically. And then I found this talking about, you know, this is a consciousness of light, and then down here is a material body, you know, like material, like the world, reality. But I thought it was weird, though, because number 10 down here at the bottom was the kingdom, you know. And I was like, well, it just kind of struck me odd, and I actually got to thinking about it, and I don't know if anyone's ever, put this two and two together. Again, some of this information I have found in books, so, not all of this is just, you know, uh, trying to be pulled out of, thin air. This is actually stuff you can gladly go read or research, obviously. But the have anybody ever looked at the hopscotch and a classic playground game, right? It's yet come here. There you go. See, I told you, bro. She gets love, she's fine. It's a proven point. But hopscotch is a classic playground game, yet strikingly resemblant to the Kabbalah's Tree of Life, and this can be seen as a symbolic game representing the journey of uh, consciousness, mirroring the spiritual ascent from Malkuth, and forgive me if I'm mispronouncing these terminologies or these sigils per se, um, to the Kinthrith or Kinthr or Kinthrin. Uh, basically, number 10 to number 1 in layman terms. In the Kabbalic tradition, which it also hints to us the path of healing and enlightenment as, we go from down here and work our way up. Healing and enlightenment, and the path of walking the 22 major arcana of tarot, and starting with the Fool down here at the bottom being a new beginning. And I was like, wow, 22 path of major arcana, right? And I was like, well, the more I looked into, tarot and stuff like that, and, I dived into it, I actually eventually found out that, tarot is not actually what a lot of people might perceive it to be as far as witchy or woo-woo. Again, it's actually more of a tool for potential communication to our spirit, to the divine, and to also help us realize potentially things to help us navigate through difficult situations, or to bring, potentially the truth that we might be seeking, which also is a lot of times why people are even drawn to tarot. Believe it or not, is because, whether you want to admit or not, is because you usually are looking for some kind of truth and some kind of clarity, which typically, the people, places, and things around you in your reality, you just simply don't feel that you can acquire that kind of truth from those people. And, it's not to say that everybody is, a bad person or negative energy or anything like that. It's just obviously, so sometimes that, it's just maybe we just need to go and reach out and get a reading done. Or that's the whole reason that sometimes we tap into tarot, is usually when we start going through a dark night of the soul, or we start experiencing awakening, and we're looking for that divine truth, and we're looking for that clarity. So, for any of those that try to sit here and say that, tarot is witchy and woo woo, it's actually more of a psychological and soul tool that we can use to tap into our subconscious and our psyche, and also connect it to spirituality and the lessons that we're needing to learn and integrate. And I thought about it, and I was like, okay, well, how could hopscotch be a path of enlightenment, or how could that resemble that? So this is kind of what I drew out here. So if you actually notice, hopscotch is actually reversed. So, you're obviously starting at 1, and when you're working your way up to 10, um, and that's your crown chakra, and all the way up to your what is that? Your soul star chakra. So you basically have your third eye, in the center of your forehead here, the crown, top of your head, and then your star chakra is kind of like your earth star chakra, where it's roughly 12 to I think 16 maybe inches above or below your feet or your head, roughly, which usually, if you actually look further and deeper into this, kind of teaching and stuff, you actually eventually find that this is actually kind of a path that, a lot of, if you read the Bible, talks about Enoch. And Enoch is, it kind of actually was talking about this journey and this path, and, and how to become basically an archangel, and how to ascend, and how to become closer to the divine, and all of these things. And it's a lot of people maybe misinterpret or misunderstood maybe what he was trying to relate. Or I don't feel like everybody was. I definitely feel there was a large group of people that were definitely listening to him and taking his advice. And I just feel like it's a teaching that a lot of people have kind of forgotten about. I know there's some spiritual people out there that do mention Enoch, or they do mention Metatron. Obviously Enoch was his human form, and Metatron is his archangel form, as he left Earth, obviously, or he technically transcended to while he was technically here on Earth. I think that's a big conception also, is a lot of people, when you first start tapping into, spirituality, or, working with, ascended masters or beings, that, I feel like a lot of people think that, we're here and they're there, if that makes sense. And that's actually an illusion, because even though we are here, they are here just as much as we are here. It's just we cannot physically see them. We actually have to more tap into their frequency and their vibration before we can actually start to communicate and to perceive to them. And then now I know people is probably like, well, that sounds like some ET home phone shit right there. And basically, you know, uh, that's basically what it is. You basically are phoning home to the Most High, to the Creator. And I thought it was ironic though that if you look at the hopscotch symbol, and you start with the 1, but then down here on the Kabbalah tree of life, number 10 is referring to the kingdom. And I was like, well, doesn't the Bible technically say that, in the kingdom or whatever, that you basically bring heaven to earth? And I'm like, whoa. So you're telling me that I basically need to bring heaven to earth? And my spirit team was like, yes, that's exactly what we mean. That's exactly what it's about. And I know some of these collective might have a lot of jealous and envy people, or haters, or people that's trying to smile in your face, and while holding a knife behind their back. And we already know there's just low vibrational people that just can't come with us. And and some of them are even just mad because that you might have been that person that had the utmost hardest, just unnecessary difficulties or challenges as you went through your life. And despite out of all of that, you still pushed forward. You still grow. You still freaking evolve. You still ascended. And it's kind of funny that people would really sit here and have the audacity to be mad at you out of all despite that you've been through, you know, to still heal, but then people be jealous and mad in the background, but then think that you don't pick up on it. It's so goofy, bro, and it's so irrelevant. Like, and let's just be real. If you're watching this channel and that's what you're about, then you can just simply fuck off at this point, because you're not for this channel. And I gotta say that, and it's not to you, collective. That's to my haters, my enemies and stuff like that that might try to tune in, because Spirit said, I think one of them might have found my channel potentially. We're not going to manifest that, but if you do, I see you, I clocked you, and yeah, you're not no spiritual blind spot, and you think you're going to get away with shit. You're not going to get away with shit with me, and you're not going to get shit away with this collective. So if you are technically a cross watcher or something like that, just trying to watch and snoop and just whatever, then you do you, but I'm not going to advise, you bring your weird negative vibration bullshit this way. And I'm just going to keep it real with you with that one. Back to the collective read, though. Basically, though, so with the Tree of Life, after discovering that, what a human is, and that we both have, a divine mind, but we are in this earthly vessel. And I was like, okay, well, what technically would the Tree of Life mean then? And you do have a Tree of Life, and you do actually have a Tree of Death, which that's called, I believe, an apocalyptic awakening. I do not recommend anybody going through those. I was kind of forced into one myself. It's not fun. It's not fun. It's definitely not for the faint of heart. But definitely, going through a Tree of Life awakening, which most people usually do. If you awaken, that's usually more than likely the way people go. And if you want to stop there, it's okay, I suppose. It's technically not the finish line. But everybody moves at their own pace and their own timeline. Again, I'm just simply here to try to bring some clarity and all that. So what I actually had discovered, though, is basically, if you see here with the Tree of Life, you see that dotted line right there. So basically, from number 10 to number 6, this is technically called a path of accumulation. Okay. This is also where kind of like where an animal level is, and obviously your physical body, okay? But this is definitely more talking about primordial energies, and you can look into more in depth to what these nodes actually mean. If you would like, you can definitely, drop a like or, comment down below, and I can potentially maybe try to go in depth with them. That's definitely a lengthy. That's probably a couple video long though right there, because that can definitely get pretty deep and pretty pretty far into that. But so I try to break it down in layman terms, and basically, so 10 through 6 is basically working through a lot of kind of like animal instincts, primordial energies, through our bodies, through our subconscious, and through our mental space. And then once we move past that kind of level, then and this is also talking about at us as an inner child, from the ages, I believe, of since we're born to like six or so, maybe 7, something like that, maybe. I could be wrong, but I know it's very early childhood. We only run and have our root chakra, and that's kind of like what your root chakra is, that right there. And then obviously as we grow and we get older, the other chakra centers come online, being, your root, your sacral, your solar plexus, uh, your heart. I believe, yes, your heart, if I'm saying that right. And then you would basically have like your throat. You see what I'm saying? But it's funny though because like, or you know, you're we'll get into it. I'm skipping ahead. Uh, so basically, so above the dotted line here. Oh, let me move it back. So above the dotted line here, number 65432. This is more where your physical world, your physical reality, is actually being applied, and this is called the path of preparation. Okay, this is where your soul and your body and your vessel is getting prepared. The path of ascension, like it talked about with the hopscotch, as far as, hinting to us at the path of healing and the path of enlightenment as we choose to awaken and ascend for our highest and greatest good. And, all those that have wondered, how certain people and individuals, have gifts and abilities. Well, obviously, some of us are just born and earned them and deserve them. And then others of us, with pure, honest, good intentions, obviously. If you're gonna do this with negative intentions, then you're just wasting your time because you're not gonna get nowhere. You'll probably just end up right back where you started at that point. Because that's not why I'm giving this information out. This information is out solely for the people to actually help them grow and ascend, and to just share my esoteric and occult knowledge. Thanks to the Masonic family members that tried to attack me, and I learned your tactics. So yep, thanks for that information. Anyways, though, if they watch this, bro, they're gonna be so butthurt. And I'll be honest with you, I don't give two flying shits because you're irrelevant. I don't know what you're doing in your life. That's all I'm gonna say. and if, yeah, we're just all right. But I'm just ranting at this point. But basically, with this path of enlightenment stuff, and walking the 22 major arcana. Now I know there's only 10 right here, and that's kind of what it talks about. This is kind of more of a basic terminology for it. Again, without going super too deep, just to kind of like crack the eggshell if you are new to this. I hope this is helping people. I hope this information is definitely resonating and it's clicking. And obviously, if you got more information you'd like to share with myself or maybe even others that might come to this video with good intentions, you're more than welcome to definitely drop a comment and share the vibe, share the information, get it out there. And but basically, with walking the path of the 22 arcana. But the crazy part is, though, is that we work through the animal instinct, right? We work through this primal energy, and this is more referring to learning how to feed our wishes and desires as a human, to learn how to trust our intuition and our instincts, to also grow our intuition and discernment, and to also face our shadows and our demons that we might be perceived to have needing to be learned through this process. And then obviously you have the above the dotted line, you have your physical world, your real reality, aka the matrix, if you want to call it that. And that's more of the path of preparation. And see, a lot of people, churches and religions and organizations, it's like they don't really want to talk about this. That this is a path. This is a path of preparation, and then it's like, well, what are we supposed to do after the path of preparation? And that's where we come all the way back into number 1 again, also representing 10, being a completion. See how that comes together now? And this basically talks about the psyche. This also talks about where people begin to do soul work, aka shadow work, dark night of the soul, healing, integration, or the beginning path of technically seeing being number one. Um, again, number one, but technically it's number one to the Most High. To our reality, being down here in this earthly realm, okay, that is technically a soul completion. A soul completion that we are technically all, that's the whole reason we come here. That's the whole reason we're born. That's the whole reason we even agree to even come to, this reality. And if you was curious what hell is, technically hell, the definition of hell is the most densest form of reality, material matter, basically. And the only thing I can think of that's denser than anything, and that's this reality that I'm kind of in right now. So that's the whole point of why you're supposed to heal and transcend and become 10 as a whole completion, which is number one in your spiritual sense. But in a single basic tree of life, normally doesn't quite talk about that you're actually needing to apply the 13th branch tree of life just to actually move forward. Because even though yes you have one here, if you ever actually go look at the I think it's called the Kabbalah Jacob's Ladder or something like that. I can't technically show you because the device, my phone that it is recording on, that it's actually a screenshot on there. But I do believe that's actually what it's called. It's called a Kabbalah Jacob's Ladder. Okay, and you can actually go through Google Images and you'll see a couple of different variations, but you should see one where it actually kind of breaks it down into a path of accumulation, the physical world. And then the psyche, and there actually is more above that. You'll have, I believe, after soul work, that's more so where you start tapping into more, spiritual gifts, spiritual enlightenments, healing. More of your craft and your gifts and abilities come online. And meow, what are you doing? She's so weird, bro. I'm sorry. It's so random. But basically, to move forward, and to actually transcend to our highest and greatest good. And I was like, well, 13, I thought it was funny because at that time that I actually came across this information is right around the same time that I actually started to find out that, there's not actually just 12 zodiac signs, that there's actually 13 zodiac signs. And basically the 13th zodiac sign is actually, it says a fucus, the serpent bearer, which talks about healing yourself. It talks about loving yourself. It talks about transmuting negative energies. It talks about becoming more aligned for our highest and greatest good. And I thought that was pretty interesting that it was talking about that, which ultimately came down to the 13th zodiac sign basically being you are the 13th zodiac sign in a sense, and basically you are the one that has to heal yourself. You are the one that has to do all this. Hey, don't be messing with that on the window, please. I think she's trying to escape. That or she's playing her, I don't know. Oh, she's coming to tell me what she was doing. Yeah, see? But basically, I thought it was pretty interesting that there is 13 zodiac signs and that we technically are supposed to be the 13th zodiac sign. Although, again, this is like forgotten teachings that they just don't really mention anymore, and certain places, should we say. Or if they do, they try to keep it all hush hush and make you, make it some cult secret society bullshit that you need to, participate in to know this kind of information, which is absolutely wrong. Because back in the day, let's just be real. You don't technically need to go to church to praise the Most High. You can do that in your house. You can do that in your living room with your family. You don't need some strange person to read you a verse and to interpret it for you. That's his interpretation. And that's a big misconception that a lot of people have had. And I know I might get, a little flame for this. I hope I don't. I just hope people honestly understand and can relate. But, at the same time, you are supposed to be reading these things, and you are supposed to use that information, and you are supposed to interpret that for your highest and greatest good, and how that applies to you and your reality. And again, not look for external validation or external things. And it's not to say that, not all places like that are bad, okay? And it's also not to say that all places like that give messages, potentially might gatekeep or anything like that. I've not met one that actually is, legit and does that, but if you know one, cool, And maybe that's the thing. Maybe that's like kind of one of the things that maybe needs to happen in the world, Maybe instead of, just simply reading a book and talking about what it is, maybe we actually need to have more people doing what I'm doing right here, actually talking about, what really needs to be said and what really needs to come out. That way, you actually can move and learn and move forward, instead of, just constantly having to rely, going somewhere each week, or, each certain days, or participating in something for you to, cultivate that. Because, the whole reason, race and religion was even created in the first place, was just to basically keep us separated. And Enoch and Megatron, they talked about that, and it's getting ready to get really, really funny though. It's getting ready to get really, really interesting, because along the path, I was curious. Well, okay, well, if that's the 13th zodiac sign, and it's talking about you need to unlock this 13th path of the Kabbalah tree to even start tapping into more of those seer gifts and abilities. Basically your own spiritual gifts and abilities, your own intuition and your own discernment. Not what Joe Schmo has, or not what I got, or not what whoever has. What you have and what you're working towards. And that's what it's really makes it important. And that's also how you really find what actually drives you, what motivates you. Instead of sitting here being jealous and envy, or mad because people are doing something that you wanted to do, or you're or mad because people's actually taking that action to try to inspire other people, to try to help other people. And I know that some of us might have people in the background that we've already intuitively picked up on, or that we might have already gotten readings and we already might know, or we might just be that psychic, or that in tuned energetically, that we can already sense and pick up that hey, yo, that's not my energy, and I know exactly where that's coming from. And if you don't, then obviously reach out, get some advice to see if somebody can help you in that direction, for sure. But basically, the 13th path connects the crown to the beauty in the tarot, which I thought was crazy, because I'm like, wow, so we're talking about a tree of life, yet we just went from a tree of life to tarot again, walking a 22 major arcana path. And I'm like, okay, it's kind of like starting to repeat itself now. And then I was like, so, because, and then basically I was like, well, what would this entail of? What does walking this path imply? What does this even mean? Like, what am I going to gain from this? Is it even going to be worth my time? Is it going to just be one of these, like, I don't know, like crockpot, whatever people just be blabbing on about, and and it just is basically just a waste of your time, So that's literally why, again, I said that I literally went to go walk the 22 major arcana path of tarot, because I wanted to personally see on a psychological level and a spiritual level if it was really actually going to make a difference, if it was really going to actually heal me, if I actually really took it seriously and I actually really did the work and I took the guidance, rather how hard or how difficult, or how much I needed to maybe swallow my pride or my ego at that time, or potentially just take it with a grain of salt and it is what it is. And I thought it was crazy because, and if you're wondering, this is kind of what this dotted circle is. So technically, in a normal Kabbalah, you'll see sometimes some people have it on the Google pictures or books and stuff. But technically, a real version would actually have. There should technically be another circle right here, and then the 13th path. If you're curious, it goes from this dotted circle, and it actually branches up through. I believe. Or no. Am I thinking right? I believe so. Yeah, it's supposed to technically just go up, and where you have one, you technically will actually have another and another above that node. So yeah, so basically, I'm not reading that one. Apologies. But basically, so what would that entail of? What was the whole point of technically applying the 13th path to the tree of life? Because see, I went through an awakening. I was going through my dark night of soul, going through all my healing. A lot of people, probably thought, whatever, he's just being weird, or he's doing negative things, or he's worshiping the devil or something, probably because, I lit a candle and I was actually sitting here praying instead of wishing negative, ill will intentions on people. I swear, people be assuming the utmost at times, bro. And then they also, they don't even get the freaking full story, bro. The whoever's out here just, woe is me, Eeyore energy, I'm the victim. That's like the old saying, bro. How many times have, like, it's never failed. It's still the same. If you have a person sitting here pointing, saying blah 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 blah, bro, old saying, what we was taught this as kids, bro. You got 3 fingers pointing right back at you, bro. Everybody's gonna see you crystal clear. They gonna see straight through that mask. So I don't even know why you trying to ruin people's reputations or this collective or mess with them, because everybody's gonna see you for who you are, and again. I'm just saying that to the naysayers or something that might be trying to tap into this video, because again, I know this video might get, whatever, I hope it helps people. I hope this actually is resonating, but I guess that's one of the things I still need to work on is that I guess I just shouldn't really let what other people might perceive as far as the information that I give out and drop. I guess I really shouldn't just probably give a shit, because I know what's true and I know what's real and I know what I'm being guided to do, and I'm just going to keep doing that. So, plain and simple. But basically, this path, sorry about the little rant there, I guess little pause, but basically, it's represented by a high priest. And the high priest basically represents the gateway to actually awakening, to actually your intuition and to the unconsciousness of your mind, and actually tapping more into that psyche and to your subconscious, that instead of your conscious, your actual subconscious, that's actually the underlying beneath there. That a lot of times we've always wondered, how could we tap into that? And this is one of the ways that I found out that you can actually tap into that, and it has a lot of great benefits and things. Though it's not to say that this path and journey is definitely easy. Those that know that you already know. But I thought it was crazy though, because within doing so, as I did discover that we actually do have 13 main chakras, in our body, again, going from beneath our feet. You got your earth star, your root, your solar plexus, or no, your sacral, your solar plexus, your heart, your upper heart, your third eye, your crown, your soul star, and then you got a couple above that, basically ultimately leading to the divine gateway, which is basically pretty much like your highest and greatest timeline, your highest version of yourself. You could call this your intuition. You could call this, the Most High. This is kind of like where you kind of more tap into that God frequency that we all are, that we all carry, rather feminine or masculine. That's the whole point of our heart space, is to technically heal, integrate, become one, and to actually share that Christ consciousness with other people to help them along their way. And I thought it was crazy though, we just kept getting 13. We got 13 main chakras. We got, what is it? 13, the 13th path of the tree of life here, And then, I was like, okay, well, let's try to well, what would a divine gateway be, or something like that, or what would even be able to tap into a divine gateway, because if you think about it, as us humans, if you use if you look at the word human seems very limited, it really does. But then again, at the same time, when you break it down into sense like I did, it seems unlimited, and talking about that we are the ray of colors, we are this ray of colors, referring to our chakra center, basically, that we need to heal, align, and integrate, kind of just like, working your way through the game of hopscotch in a way, but hopscotch, aka meaning your spiritual, your soul's journey, your life's journey, and your ascension to your highest and greatest timeline, broke down by the 22 path of major arcana that the Kabbalism had actually kind of broke down for us, and how to actually bring, our heaven to earth. Okay, how we can manifest our heaven to earth. And I was, when I heard Divine Gateway, I started thinking about space. Obviously, you can tell behind me. Obviously, I like space. Maybe this collective likes space, black holes, or maybe that's a synchronicity. But I was like, man, it definitely seems like we're definitely more than a human. Like having this kind of capability, like this seems more like almost like an alien. This almost seems more like geez, like, are we even really from here, dude? Like if we're this powerful and we're this kind of being, and some of us are even, myself included, are definitely, way kind of deep into this, and at that point, I guess you would maybe consider yourself to be in a starseed, or a light worker, or a chosen one. Again, I don't really try to use labels, but I will, just for the simple fact that this kind of will tie into that. But I know many of you might have heard of the Anunnaki, the alien race Anunnaki. I know a lot of people have probably heard about that. Though I don't really see a lot of these people talking, actually. Well, I'm sure there's a few people. Let me rephrase that. I think there's a few. But, I do see a lot of spiritual people not quite really talking about it, or actually really connecting it to spirituality, to what actually being a human is, to actually, maybe all the interconnectedness. And I don't know, maybe that's why I'm here. Maybe I'm here to draw awareness to all of these random different things, or connect the dots with all these random things. But basically, so if you've heard of the Anunnaki, you know that they are an ancient alien race that potentially used to be on Mars and came to Earth, and, so on and so forth, that basically, they're kind of like our ancestors. But in this sense, in this manner, and this is my interpretation. Obviously, we all have our own opinions, but this is mine. So basically, we actually pretty much, we've heard of the Anunnaki, but I see a lot of people perceiving the Anunnaki as something that is old, as it's not here still. But if you actually break down the word the same way that I researched, the word just being a human, is just separating them two and actually just breaking them down individually of what they mean. And I actually kind of was curious, with Anunnaki. And the Anu basically refers to as the above spirit, and the Naki refers to as below matter. And if you remember, I was talking about, or let me just finish this. Basically, let me repeat that before I go forward. Sorry, I'm jumping ahead. So the Anu is basically above spirit, and the Naki is below matter. And basically what this means is man is spirit infused with matter. And I'm like, hold on. Man is infused with matter. And then I remember, actually remembering that, what a human is, I was like, man, that sounds like a human. Anunnaki, which if you break it down, being above spirit, Anu, and then Naki being below matter, bringing it together, being a man is spirit infused with matter. And I'm like, wow, well, isn't that technically like what Thoth or like ancient Egypt and all that was kind of talking about? So it was definitely kind of an eye opener. And then I was like, so, like, what are you trying to tell me here, Spirit? Like, are you trying to tell me that, meaning that man, a human, that we are Anunnaki, that we this whole entire time, that you mean to tell that potentially we've been looking up to space and the stars and the sky for aliens, and you mean to basically tell me that us as humans, or some of us, are potentially Anunnaki? We're not something long forgotten or deceased. We're literally here in the present moment, walking around, living and breathing, just mentally and externally asleep and unaware that we are such powerful divine beings that literally have all been dated in history books at some point, or scribes, or basically a point in our history, and it was crazy because I was like, I was comparing, and I was like, dude, I was like, above spirit, below matter, a man is spirit infused with matter, meaning a man is Anunnaki. And then I was like, well, hold on, like, didn't man basically represent 10, which represents perfectionism and balance? And also, if I'm not mistaken, Adam actually does, or a man does. I don't know. It's either Adam or a man. I'll have to recheck on that. But I'm pretty sure it actually, numerology breaks down to 10 as well, being completion. Which there's actually a really funny story about that, and you can go research that. I'm pretty sure there's people that's got videos about that, up and about, about Adam and the Anunnaki. But basically, it was like, 10 underscores the fact that all humans were created in the likeness and perfection of the Most High. Meaning we possess both a divine mind, being a spirit infused with matter into an earthly body. And I was like, oh my goodness, bro. I was like, so this whole time, like, you know, we have these codes and we have these things and we have these, you know, information just right in front of us. It's just, we, you know, again, you know, we have to be consciously aware and wanting to seek out this kind of information and knowledge if we are choosing to heal and integrate and grow, you know, for our highest and greatest good. That way, again, we can actually, you know, transcend, you know, for our highest and greatest good. So basically, you know, we can basically, you know, go from being born to fulfilling our soul's mission and contract of the whole reason we're even here on earth, and you know, helping us with balancing our chakra centers and following the 22 path of the major arcana. Get down, please. Get down. Thank you. I told you she was going to do it. I think I called it on the video. But so yeah, basically, you know, and I thought it was funny because, you know, if you actually go boom, 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 you know, you actually got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, right? So if you actually got the normal tree, if you actually talk about the normal tree of life, right? You got your 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then technically if this was the 13th branch of the Kabbalah tree of life, you would have 6 and 7. And we actually have 7 main chakras in our actual body. You know, you got your crown, you got your third eye, you got your throat, you got your heart, you got your solar plexus, your sacral, and your root. And I was like, well, I mean, like, you can't make this up, dude. Like, you know. So, I don't know. Just food for thought. Just a little rambling session. Just a little sharing information, you know, with you guys. You know, I hope you liked it. I hope you got something from it. Maybe you learned something new today. Or maybe it brought you, you know, maybe some awareness or clarity that, you know, maybe opened your eyes up and you know, maybe expanded your consciousness, you know, with pure good intentions, obviously. If you would like to book a reading, you know, you can reach out at redcardinaltarot@gmail.com. Again, if you did like the video, hit the like, subscribe. You know, maybe if you want to share it with somebody, go ahead and share it. You know, if you guys want to share any kind of your information that maybe you found out about your spiritual journey along your path that might resonate with this message, you know, be sure to definitely drop it down below. I would love to read it. You know, I try to read them, you know, when they'll come in at a timely manner. And I guess that's my cue to definitely go and see what in the world my cat just probably got into. And yeah, catch you on the next one. Deuce.